Two naval officers vanished decades ago after taking off from Sand Point. Now, is the mystery solved?
We truly treat each other like family.
Kenmore Air, the seaplane king, marks a major milestone.
What's up? I'm Anthony. This is my wife, Marley.
A Seattle couple uses a racial equity lens to create videos that rate popular destinations. These stories and more, next on CityStream. I'm Enrique Cerna. Welcome to CityStream from Magnuson Park. From the 1920s to the 1970s, this spot that I'm standing on was once a runway of the old Sand Point Naval Air Station. And that's where two young aviators took off more than 70 years ago and never returned. Their disappearance set off a decades-long search, not just for the men and their plane, but for closure for each family. Here's Felix Benell.
So you would have had to clear the tree, then drop down, and you only have about 1,500 feet left.
It's a foggy day in the Cascade foothills. Sean Murphy and Lee Corbin, two men with a passion for aviation history, have returned here, once again, to honor two Navy flyers. Here is Black Lake. It's a tiny body of water on private timberland, off limits to the public, and east of the Snoqualmie Valley town of Carnation. The story actually begins 20 miles away, as the crow flies, at the old Sand Point Naval Air Station on Lake Washington. It was there at what's now Magnuson Park, where two young naval aviators, 23-year-old Ensign Gaston and 25-year-old Lieutenant Junior Grade Benjamin Vreeland, took off on March 11, 1949. The two were flying a World War II-era trainer known as an SNJ-5 Texan.
And they departed at 10:05 on that morning just to go out to the east and do some flying around for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. They made one radio call after they departed, and that was the last that anybody had heard from them after that.
Well, frankly, they searched for 10 days. The normal 10-day pattern of searching up and down the western Washington, from the water to the mountains, north, south. It seemed like no one really zeroed in on that area, even though the loggers had come out and stated what they had seen.
That area was Black Lake. For years, the mother of Gaston Mays, one of the lost flyers, traveled from her Tennessee home to the northwest to search for her son. Then, in 1953, she got a letter from a ranger who had found suspicious debris in Black Lake, encouraging news to Nora Mays. So each summer, she returned to search for her boy. A mother's love and devotion kept her coming back for 19 consecutive years. But the plane and the two men were never found. Nora Mays visited for the final time in 1969. She died in 1983.
It was obviously the ongoing story of Nora throughout the years when I was looking through the newspaper clippings. For me, I think it was more that these two naval aviators had kind of been forgotten about. Just because they couldn't be found, I didn't feel it was right that they should be totally forgotten.
After meeting a few years ago through their shared interest in the lost plane, Lee Corbin and Sean Murphy revived the search effort. They tracked down family members of both men and kept them updated on their progress. Nora May's son even trusted Lee Corbin with all of his mom's research files. And they got help from the Maritime Archaeological Society to search the lake one more time.
We then went out with a magnetometer that could read 18 inches under the mud, and we hit on some anomalies. The divers went down, they stuck their hands all the way to their neck. They were not able to find an end to the mud in their probe.
Though they couldn't locate the plane, Corbin and Murphy contacted the Naval History and Heritage Command, the part of the Navy that keeps records of lost vessels and planes. They shared what Nora Mays had found and a new analysis from the Maritime Archaeological Society. Their hard work and determination paid off. In late 2020, more than 70 years after the men disappeared, the Navy officially recognized Black Lake as their likely final resting place.
All military personnel and servicemen, please face the flags
In May 2021, with help from the American Legion post in nearby Snoqualmie, a monument to the two lost flyers was dedicated at Black Lake. Dan Vreeland, nephew of lost flyer Benjamin Vreeland, came all the way from Texas for the ceremony.
I've been trying to do research on this for years, and the amount of information that I've been given in the past 2 years, my whole family is just blown away. And I can't say thank you enough, and I'd like to say thanks to each and every one of you for what you've done for us.
The Mays family wasn't able to attend the monument dedication, and neither was Dan's sister, Isabel Hoverman, niece of lost flyer Benjamin Vreeland. This gave Sean Murphy and Lee Corbin, and Dan and Isabel, one more reason to return to Black Lake on that foggy day in November.
Well, if you think about the fact that I'm the only person that actually met Ben, I was 3 years old the last time he was with family.
Thanks to a group called Cascade Warbirds and with help from pilots John Smokey Johnson and Stan Kasperzik, an SNJ-5 Texan, just like the one flown by the missing men, paid tribute to the families with a series of memorial flyovers.
It's so loud, it's no wonder people heard.
To me, I mean, I've seen plenty of SNJs at air shows and up close and stuff, but to see one fly over the lake where my uncle's in his SNJ still, possibly, you can't quite explain it.
It's the end of a story.
Yeah.
A story that we've heard about since we were kids because of all of these amazing people.
Yeah, every one of them. You too.
We've got the answer to the story. It's great.
Along with the memorial stone at hard-to-reach Black Lake, the Snoqualmie VFW also dedicated a small monument outside their post in downtown Snoqualmie. Next on CityStream, its pilots have long used the water as a runway. Now Kenmore Air is celebrating a big anniversary. If you've ever spent time at the north end of Lake Washington or Lake Union, you've likely watched a seaplane take off. Those planes belong to Kenmore Air, which just celebrated its 75th anniversary. Back in the 1940s, when Bob Monroe first taught GIs how to fly, he never imagined his small company would someday become the biggest airline in America. On water, that is. Jenny Cunningham has the story.
Have you heard that kids these days are living life buried in screens? Clearly, Hunter Banks hasn't gotten the memo.
I mean, this job doesn't feel like a job. It's more just what I do day to day, and I love it.
Hunter does grunt work that keeps the seaplanes flying at Kenmore Air. You wouldn't guess that he's the son of the boss, unless you knew the Monroe Banks family.
Well, we all started working the front line.
I started working here when I was probably 13.
That includes cleaning restrooms and dumping trash and washing airplanes. And
We'd fly up and I'd work on the line and do fish boxes and work in the office and take reservations.
The biggest seaplane company in America is taking a victory lap.
75 years we're here.
Yes, we are.
On a blue sky Saturday, folks are celebrating the 75th anniversary of Kenmore Air. For Kenmore President Todd Banks, It's a moment to reflect on why his company is one of the few family-owned businesses that survive into a fourth generation.
Our secret sauce is I think we have a unique relationship with our ownership, management, and employees where we truly treat each other like family.
Here's one example of the devotion Kenmore inspires. Employee Beth Thompson had a seaplane gown made for the anniversary party. It's not what she normally wears to work.
Yeah, I don't wear these on the shop floor. I mean, I never felt like I was odd for being a girl mechanic here. I felt like I was treated like a mechanic, which is what I wanted.
This celebration is also a survival story. In 2020, the pandemic grounded Kenmore.
We went from around 100 employees to 18 employees, I think, in like 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks.
Lay off people that have worked here longer than I've been alive, and yeah, doing that. So, but we're coming back.
Bob Monroe and a couple of friends started Kenmore Air in 1946. They converted an old shingle mill on Lake Washington into a seaplane airport. Early on, Monroe found himself in charge of the business. He would run it for more than 50 years.
It originally started out to just be a flight training operation.
Then people started asking for flights to famous fishing spots, and the charter business took off. Bob Monroe's kids, Leslie and Greg, grew up in a house at the airport, riding trikes under tall planes.
We used them as toys, kind of. We would build camps underneath the fuselage.
Seaplanes were this family's station wagon.
We'd fly over there and have a picnic on a remote beach, remote area of the beach. Build a fire, roast hot dogs, cook oysters, swim.
S'mores. I'd just like to go on record as saying it was not a glamorous life. It was really, really hard.
And their dad was gone a lot, sometimes doing dangerous work, toting torpedoes for the Navy, or flying supplies to scientists doing research on glaciers. This was the craziest of those missions. Snow Dome on Mount Olympus wasn't long enough for takeoff, so Monroe dropped onto a steep slope under the glacier and into thin air. What most of us think of as Kenmore Air, those yellow-striped planes purring by the Space Needle, that's scheduled service. It didn't start until the 1980s, around the time Kenmore opened a terminal on Lake Union. By then, Bob Monroe's son Greg was becoming a well-known pilot himself, with more than a few celebrity encounters.
Meg Ryan, Goldie Hawn, Chuck Yeager, Jimmy Buffett.
Inside hangars, you'll find the less glamorous side of Kenmore Air. That diversity has helped the airlines survive economic turbulence.
We sell parts all over the world, and then we also maintain airplanes for other customers.
Kenmore's mechanics are known for taking rusting carcasses of vintage seaplanes and transforming them.
I said, if you teach me how to fly it, I will buy it.
John Nordstrom, yes, one of those Nordstroms, bought a vintage Beaver from Kenmore in 1991. 30 years later, Nordstrom flew his prized possession to the anniversary party.
Yeah, you can do it.
Where he claimed this plane is so easy to fly.
Put your butt on the seat and you'll be in great shape, like I do.
A reporter could do it.
Sit there, put your feet on the pedals. There's the yoke.
This is crazy.
Pull it towards you. That's how you go up. Now tip the wings the other way. Pretty easy, huh?
I just got a flying lesson from Mr. Nordstrom.
I know.
Nordstrom is one of those customers who's become a friend of the Monroes.
We are so lucky to have the family. I'm from a family business, and family businesses can be really good or really not good. And this is a really good one.
But even good businesses have failed in this pandemic. Kenmore won't be one of them. The company launched an anniversary scenic flight for $75, and the phones started ringing.
It just got so busy, but we have like a third of the staff that we normally have. So it was like, especially for a family, we were just putting different hats on and doing whatever we could to just kind of get back. It's exhausting, but it's worth it. It's great to see the planes flying and hear the noise of the engines going.
Since 1946, the rumble of float planes has been part of the soundtrack of Puget Sound. Will Kenmore Air survive another 75 years? Will it still be all in the family?
When I'm not working, I'm flying, and when I'm not flying, I'm working pretty much.
Hunter is training to become a Kenmore pilot.
Todd,
so at the end of a long day, the boss fills in as line crew.
You be the line crew? Yeah. All right.
With son Hunter at the controls.
Keep them straight and level.
And Uncle Greg in the passenger seat. Kenmore Air taxis into the future.
Hunter isn't the only fourth-generation family member working in the wings at Kenmore Air. Some of the other kids are still in high school, so it's too early to say for sure, but Hunter's siblings and cousins have all expressed interest in continuing the family business. Next on CityStream, this couple's YouTube videos use a racial equity lens to focus in on popular places. Their story next. CityStream returns from the Fin Project at the east end of Magnuson Park. Artist John T. Young created this to simulate the dorsal fins of an orcapod, but a closer look reveals the sleek metal slabs are actually decommissioned submarine wings that each weigh 10,000 pounds. Well, it's time to hit rewind and watch a favorite find from our friends at the Seattle Municipal Archives. This one highlights a series of animated educational films created entirely by the Seattle Fire Department. Here's archivist Libby Hopfop.
Between 1977 and 1988, the Seattle Fire Department's Public Education Office produced a series of original animated films as a component of their School and Fire Safe Education Program curriculum, which was presented by the Fire Department in King County elementary schools. One of the main reasons this series is so special and unique is because the films were actually developed, written, produced, edited, and animated by employees at the Seattle Fire Department. Several of these cartoons star Big Red, the talking fire hydrant.
I'm Big Red, a talking fire hydrant.
In 1984, Big Red made his first appearance in the Safe films. Along with his friend Inspector Jim, Big Red travels to a local residence to perform a fire inspection and teach Mrs. Reeves and her dog Spot all about fire safety. Big Red was based on an actual robot which national fire departments purchased to use as a teaching tool. The Seattle Fire Department felt that having both the animated movies and the actual robot in their presentations provided, quote, a two-way interaction between the children and the fire educator to make teaching fire safety more interesting and fun for both children and adults. Local radio personalities such as Cairo's Jim French and KJR's Debbie Deutsch volunteered to provide voices for the characters. The University of Washington's Department of Education Media Services donated the use of its animation and film equipment for the project. Film students from UW received school credit for assisting with animating, editing, and syncing the soundtrack. Some of the elements addressed, such as smoking safety, are dated, but the quirky, homemade feel of the film remains endearing and entertaining. To view this film, or if you have any questions, please visit archives.seattle.gov.
The Big Red film series connected with kids and educated them at the same time. One Seattle couple is doing something similar, using video to educate people of color about popular sites around the Sound. As we celebrate Black History Month, the work of Marley and Anthony Love highlights accessibility and racial equity with the YouTube series Traveling While Black in Seattle. Brian Callanan has the story.
Yep, that's cool.
When Anthony and Marley Love came to the Pacific Northwest 2 years ago, they didn't know their way around.
Oh, here we go. And sometimes this is live, so it's we drive like Washingtonians already.
But dealing with potentially uncomfortable situations on a road trip comes more naturally to this couple than you might think.
What's up? I'm Anthony. This is my wife, Marley, and welcome to another episode of Traveling While Black in Seattle.
The Loves, self-proclaimed lifelong Black people, have created a show to chronicle their trips across the state of Washington and beyond.
Cheers.
Marley, a life coach, and Anthony, a supply chain worker, are transplants from St. Louis who started their online program in 2019 simply as a way to get to know Seattle.
So I said, how about we start a show where we go out and help Black people and other people that are marginalized, let them know where the places are safe, how much fun they are, and just like our overall experiences.
Anthony and Marley give each location a drive grade for accessibility, a fun level rating, and what the Loves call a Black person comfort meter.
People might not realize that people that look like us, people that feel discriminated against, have that like little voice in the back of their head being like, is this gonna be safe for me?
Census figures show Black people make up only 7.3% of the Seattle population, 4.4% statewide, but the Loves are keeping their eyes open.
Oh, we got some Black folk. We have to get that.
Their smiling, positive approach to the challenging topic of race carries a gentle but powerful message.
It's not really about, going out and seeking like racism or any type of hate. It's about encouraging Black people to travel to places where they may have not even thought they would want to go check out.
With 60+ episodes and counting, Traveling While Black has covered a lot of ground, having some fun and turning some heads.
I think we went a little overboard.
Rebecca Servos owns Distant Worlds Coffee Shop in Seattle's Roosevelt neighborhood.
And they wore cosplay, and I said, those are our people, right there. Yeah, okay, go ahead and write that all down. Let's get rock and rolling on that.
She invited Traveling While Black to visit her self-described geeky coffee spot.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, how are you?
Living the dream, all day, every day.
Yes.
Servos says her business seeks to elevate the voices of queer women and people of color, serving up a new perspective on what being a geek is all about.
We really want to create a space that is inclusive and welcoming to folks who may not have felt included and welcomed in geek culture prior to being here in our space.
It's a mission similar to what guides Traveling While Black, inviting people with a sense of community, not competition, to examine the prejudices we all carry.
It requires a lot of looking internally and seeking out those personal biases, rooting them out, seeing how they're influenced by the culture that we live in.
And that culture is changing.
Right there. I think we go that way. Let's go. Yeah. Should we go to the bar?
Let's go.
All right, start out with beverage today.
The Westie, whose founding chef, Chris Hartfield, is Black, has survived a time of protest and pandemic over the past year plus by adapting its business, but staying focused on inclusivity.
There shouldn't be any reason, whether it's Black, white, Asian, gay, straight. There should be no reason to be greeted any differently from how you would anywhere else.
1, 2, 3.
It's an idea worth toasting for Traveling While Black, for the Westie, and for all of us as we recover from a worldwide crisis in the hopes of coming back better.
I think that we've seen a lot of creativity come out of this past year and a half, so it's fun to see that used in a positive light and to share that message and to make other people see it and be welcome about it.
Not every trip has been fun. On a visit to the Olympic Peninsula last year, the Loves felt ignored at a restaurant and very unwelcome.
Well, an unfriendly cold welcome.
We know it was cold for us because the 2 sets of white customers that came in after us during our visit were both greeted very differently. Most of all, I think it was kind of disappointing.
And social media isn't always on their side either.
We get comments on our YouTube and our Facebook page where people are like, this is dumb, you should be doing this.
But those few incidents haven't stopped their willingness to dive into situations that are not always that comfortable.
Full disclosure, we don't know how to swim.
We're trying to do something about it and just show people, hey, listen, I know you have that voice in the back of your head, but it's okay, you can get out, you can do these things because it's fun and it's beautiful.
Anthony and Marley say they're open to wherever the Traveling While Black experience takes them, and they're hoping that everyone, no matter what your racial background, is on board. Yes, They might take some wrong turns.
Is this one way?
No, it's not a one way.
But we could all use some help finding our way on a long trip to racial equity.
That's kind of like a dream of ours. Our show can have an impact, that journey we are on as a country, to right some wrongs in the past and kind of heal some wounds.
We want to go north, south. We want to go all over Washington. We want to go Oregon, California. We just want to go everywhere.
While the videos are called Traveling While Black in Seattle, Anthony and Marley explore much of Western Washington. And with 86 episodes and counting, they provide a lot to see and experience. We'll be right back. Well, that wraps up this episode of CityStream from Magnuson Park. If you'd like to watch more outstanding Seattle Channel programs, visit our website, seattle.gov, and click on Feature Shows. I'm Enrique Cerna. Thank you for watching.